I went and had some intervention tests done. They test my carotid artery. They check the veins in here for stroke and all that sort of stuff. They look at my blood. They do all of these things, and I didn't come out perfect. I didn't want to hear what I wanted to hear. I'm Clark Bartram. I'm Batman. I'm the
Right.
guy. I got these abs. You know what I'm saying? But at
Yeah.
the same time, stuff inside of me is telling me something different. So what
Right.
do? That circles me back to the whole Russell Brunson thing. I look at my blood, I fill in the nutrient gaps, and I start building from a foundation. Most guys jump from here to here and expect to get something. You got to build
Yeah.
a
A ton.
foundation. And if you build that foundation from knowing what your body is telling you, then you can thoughtfully take a path that is meant for you, not just jump on a keto diet and quit in
Expect
6 days.
exactly. Welcome to the Beyond Physio podcast, where we help you move, excel, and inspire others on your journey to your next level with knowledge and advice from experts and testimonials from our like-minded community. I want to welcome Clark Bartram to the Beyond Physio podcast. Clark, it's an honor to have you on our show. Not only were you a former Marine, but also an inventor, a bodybuilder, a amazing coach, model, and not only that, you are now launching this amazing product. I think your supplement product with some big names out there like Russell Brunson. But I want to talk about the journey for you because there's a lot to unpack here, and I want everyone to know what it took for you to get from the YMCA all the way to where you're right now.
It took consistency.
Yeah.
If without consistency, I'm sorry, I'm posting you on social media right
Oh,
now here
thank you.
because that's what we do. So, yeah, you have to show up every single day. If you don't show up every day to do the work that you're called and meant and created to do, the work's not going to get done. You can't expect anyone else to do it for you, especially if it comes from a place of passion and purpose. And from that young age of 14 at the YMCA in Canton, Ohio, that is exactly what's gone on. Little did I know that each year after year, as I showed up and remained consistent, that I would eventually end up here in a position where I'm now, like you had just mentioned, working with probably, in most people's opinion, the number one marketer on planet Earth, Russell Brunson.
Amazing. Yeah.
And I sat here in a call with him, just absolutely amazed. Like, am I literally on a call right now with Russell Brunson and he's
That's
geeking out
funny.
on me as much as I'm geeking out on him?
Right. So it's funny because I have a friend who's also in that inner circle, and I mean, you're talking about playing at a level that's just way beyond what people think of when they think of marketing, and everything from the system he set up, obviously through ClickFunnels and whatnot. It's pretty remarkable what he's done. And what are you now doing with Russell, or going to be doing with him as far as supplements go?
So we're launching a brand called Unfair Advantage,
Love
and
it.
it's a friend of mine, Natalie Jill
Yeah.
of Natalie Jill Fit. She and I are what Russell refers to as the attractive characters, the
Hmm.
face or
Yeah.
the person in front of the camera that is explaining the benefits of the product that we're offering, which is a whole food supplement that is designed for the individual specifically. Typically, what happens is someone is interested in getting a multivitamin and a multivitamins mineral because they understand that the day and age that we live in, we're not necessarily getting the nutrients that we need. We have what I refer to as nutrient gaps.
Yeah.
So they go off to a specialty retail store or a big box store and they just buy some random supplement. And typically those supplements are made from synthetic ingredients. They're made in a lab, so they're not easily digestible or digestible at all in the human body. So what we've done at Unfair Advantage is source probably the best formulator around, a guy by the name of Doug Grant, who's worked with the NBA on a very, very high level, helping
Yeah.
these high level athletes perform at a much higher ability. And he's done that through filling out those nutrient gaps by first taking their blood and then helping them understand where in that blood they've determined that there are these gaps that need to be filled in with whole food supplements that are made from natural ingredients that come from the earth that are
Mhm.
pre-digested that the body can assimilate and actually use. So that's the foundational element of what we're doing, really providing quality in the term of what they're putting in their body to fulfill these needs that have not yet been met, probably from taking crap that doesn't do anything
Right.
other than become expensive urine, as we've heard it
I was
say.
going to say, or poop.
Yeah. So anyway, it's really exciting, and there's a whole list of other products that come along with it, like a bone broth protein
Oh,
powder,
yeah.
a greens product, some energy, and some sleep things that everyone consumes. We're just trying to help them consume the things that we know, based upon our experience, are really good products meant for that person specifically.
I love that. And now, how did you then, Clark, get to the status of becoming America's most trusted fitness professional? That's a pretty like big title there. So can you unpack that a little bit?
I made it up.
I love it.
I made it up. So before branding became a thing for
Yeah.
people in this space, I was branding myself. And that's exactly what I did. I sat down with a branding expert. This is close to, shoot, 30 years ago. People, I
Wow.
mean, there was no social media. People didn't have brands. Like, everybody's branding themselves now. I sat down with this guy and I didn't even really understand what we were doing because it didn't exist. Only
Right.
big companies like Ford and all of these big brands, because they created that brand, built Ford tough. Why do they
Right.
say it's built Ford tough? Because they said it was,
Yes.
right? And then he and I sat down together and he said, okay, tell me something about you. What makes you different than everybody else in the industry? And immediately I said, well, you can trust me. You can
Hmm.
absolutely trust me, because I knew there were some people in the industry who were a little bit shady. They were great marketers or whatever, and they weren't really into it for the
Hmm.
same reason I was. So from that trust, we built out, like, what sort of impact do you want to have? Like, how far have you reached? I want to reach the United States of America, right? Because I was a Marine. That's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking. Now I've got this worldwide reach.
It's amazing.
And then we landed on, okay, what are you? I'm a fitness professional. At first it was personality, America's most trusted fitness personality. And then someone came along to me and said,
Ah,
you're more than a personality, you're a professional.
for
So we
sure.
switched it up and it stuck. I remember years ago, my son was young. He said, Daddy, are you really America's most trusted fitness professional? I said, yep. And he asked me, why? I said, because I said so. That's it.
Ah, love that, Clark. So, it's funny because your journey goes from all these different things happening. And I want to say that from one of the podcasts I've heard you on recently, it sounds like you just knew what you were meant to do and you just took that opportunity, made the path for yourself. And this is where you've landed at this point.
Yeah, I definitely, people ask me, excuse me, how did you get into what you're doing? And this may have
Yeah.
been what you heard on the other podcast, because I'd be remiss if I didn't really tell you exactly how I knew. Like, there's two answers to that question. One is the spiritual one, where I know for a fact that I was created to do what I do. I was created to be on this call with you right now, sharing the information that I'm sharing. And then the other thing is the business part of it. So you have the spiritual part and the business part. And the business part is, I saw a gap. Like, there wasn't a guy that was over 50, that was fit all the time,
Yeah.
that had the desire and the passion and the purpose that I feel I have to deliver the message of hope and inspiration and education. And you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. What makes me any different than you? It's not because of your age that you're feeling the way you're feeling. It's because of the choices that you've made throughout your life. And here is where you've ended up. I ended up where I'm at because this is what I do. It's not what you do. Let me help you do what you want to do, because it's what I do.
Right. Love that. Now, I really liked your five pillars, Clark. And tell me if I'm wrong, but it's mindset, meals, movement, community, and supplements. Is this the
Yes, and then
reason
supplements
why?
has been
Yeah.
changed to
Oh, you.
integrity. We moved
Oh, I love that.
supplements to integrity.
Even better. Now, do you find that with these five pillars, that this helps to have your clients also see the level of success that they're trying to go after on their fitness journey?
Yeah, that's what I use to manage every single one of my guys. So every single day, I wake up to a text message from one of my guys that I coach with. Right here is one of them, just came in, and
Cool.
it says, yesterday's numbers. This is what I asked them to do. This literally just came in. Yesterday's numbers: mindset 9, movement, mindset 9, meals 9, movement 8, community 7, integrity 10. Clark, Hope you're doing well. Looking forward to heading California tomorrow. Please give me a shout. So this guy's flying out here to meet me in person. But now, based upon these numbers, he doesn't need any intervention from me. He
So
needs
cool.
nothing. Like he's doing better than I'm doing. If he's at a 9 and an 8 and a 10 in integrity, I'm not at a 10 in integrity. Man, I messed up yesterday. I
Oh
did some
no.
stuff I wish I didn't do, you know? So I
Yeah.
leave my room for improvement. But
Yeah.
if I had anything below a 7, I would intervene. And I would
Ah,
intervene with a message saying, "Hey, Bob, what's going on, brother? Why are you at a 6 in movement? What did you not do yesterday that you know you should have
mm,
done?" And
right.
then he instantly tells on himself, "Well, yeah, I know I should have worked out, but." I'm like, forget the buts. And then here's what we do. We fix it today. Move
Mhm.
more today than you did yesterday. Eat better today than you did yesterday. Think better thoughts today than you did yesterday. Involve yourself in the community. I have WhatsApp groups. I have Facebook pages. I have all of these places where men come together to support each other because men need men.
Yeah.
We need guys to pat us on the back. We need guys to tell us you're awesome. We need guys to kick us in the ass. We need guys to do things like it doesn't mean the same thing coming from a woman. You need
Yeah.
men in your life. That's why we have this community.
I
So
love that. It's funny, Clark, because recently, as a physical therapist, I've seen this big trend in talking to my guys over 40. And you've mentioned before how there are some lies, maybe even some myths that even guys in their 40s are being told, as far as, hey, after the age of 30, there's a 1% regression and degradation of testosterone and whatnot. But I feel that that might be for the average person. But for somebody like yourself, like myself, who really do value fitness and health, I feel like as long as we're doing the right things, that we can actually stay way ahead of that sort of degrading amount of testosterone, would you say?
thank you. Someone with an education, people. I'm not an educated guy. I didn't go to school to learn all this. We got a
It's
physical
crazy.
therapist here who works with people in that capacity every single day, saying exactly what people need to hear. What people are hearing and what they're buying into is some bullshit that has been put on the internet for somebody to sell something. They didn't test me. They didn't
Mhm.
test you. Like we don't factor into that average guy thing. I don't want to be that average guy.
Yeah,
I
same.
promise you. They come and test me, they're going to see different things. You're a physical therapist. I move like every 30-year-old in your office should
Yeah,
be moving.
for sure.
Hell, I move like the 20-year-olds should be. I know that because I do it every weekend. I do
Right.
it all the time.
I love it.
And every guy is capable of that.
Yeah, it's true. And it's funny, Clark, because I feel that, and I'm all for women's health, and I think it's really important for women to be definitely highlighted in many ways. But as you all know, like the guys are actually, we live less long. We actually live shorter lives. And there's definitely sort of like this trend towards, I know there's like this toxic masculinity and whatnot, but I do feel like guys oftentimes ignore the warning signs and they are either too sort of like involved with work and they forget or whatnot, but they're not really aware or taking care of those things for themselves, maybe because of the machismo or whatever. What are your thoughts on that, Clark?
You're exactly right. I'll give you a story here. I was recently, probably, gosh, it's maybe been 6 months now. Time flies so fast, especially when we get older, right? It seems to narrow down. But I was in a hospital room about an hour and a half away from here, standing next to a friend of mine, and I watched him die right in front of my face.
Mm.
And right when he died, I had to stand there with his son, take his cold, dead finger and put it on his computer to be able
Oh my
to open
God.
it up so they could have access to all of what this guy had in there. And then when we walked out of the room, I remember sitting down on the ground and this kid looked at me and said, "I wish my dad would have went to the doctor. He always said he didn't want to know what they were going to
Oh,
tell him." His
sad.
wife or widow told me the same thing. So and so never wanted to go to the doctor because he didn't want to hear what they might tell him. And the doctor that I sat there with when nobody else was there said, "You know what? This could have been preventable had he
Oh,
gotten in here sooner and found this out, but he didn't. It was too late by the time we intervened."
man.
He's not
It's
the
true.
only guy that thinks that way.
Yeah.
And I have found myself in situations like that where you feel like you just go blah 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 and it's going to go away. You could close your eyes and pretend like that tree that's sitting in front of me is not there, but when I unplug my ears and open my eyes, that damn tree is still there and I have to do something about it. trim it back, deal with it, accept it, whatever, you know? So I'm getting ready to post a reel here probably
Mhm.
today, and maybe I'll
Yeah.
have my EA posted today, where I went and had some intervention tests done. They test my carotid artery. They check the veins in here for stroke and all that sort of stuff. They look at my blood. They do all of these things, and I didn't come out perfect. I didn't want to hear what I wanted to hear. I'm Clark Bartram. I'm Batman. I'm the
Right.
guy. I got these abs. You know what I'm saying? But at
Yeah.
the same time, stuff inside of me is telling me something different. So what do I
Right.
do? That circles me back to the whole Russell Brunson thing. I look at my blood, I fill in the nutrient gaps, and I start building from a foundation. Most guys jump from here to here and expect to get something. You got to build
Yeah.
a
A ton.
foundation. And if you build that foundation from knowing what your body is telling you, then you can thoughtfully take a path that is meant for you, not just jump on a keto diet and quit in
Expect
6 days.
exactly. Do you feel like it's still the case now, maybe even worse now, Clark, where people are still expecting that if they do this, they will get that result? But you and I both know that it's a process, especially if you've been out of the game in fitness and whatnot for maybe since you're high school. It's just not going to happen overnight, but there's a reality check here that I think guys don't seem to give up on. We're like, oh, well, I didn't get better or I didn't look better in a few weeks. So I'm expecting to, I guess this is not for me. Have you come across those kinds of clients?
Every day. But I have this unique gift and ability to speak directly to them and take
Mm,
out all of the outside noise by being honest and transparent and real. They trust me
yeah.
and they don't want that in their life. But like you said, it is a process. I'll give you another quick story. The guy's going to be on my podcast Friday. Guy's name is Hadi. He had
Mhm.
a $500,000 Lamborghini Murcielago driving down a beautiful road here, literally wrapped this car around a tree. And you've seen this as a physical
Oh,
therapist.
man.
He was told he will never walk again. The first day I met this guy, he was walking into the gym with two
Jeez.
ski poles like this. A couple days later, he's walking in with one ski pole. And I'm like,
Wow.
look at this progress. And in his mind, he's going, man, I wish this would happen faster. I said, how long ago were you dead? How long ago were you paralyzed from the next
Man.
down? He said, 5 months ago. I said, oh my God, bro, are
God,
you
that's
kidding me?
crazy. That's
That's
insane.
amazing.
That's
See,
absolutely
even
amazing.
that guy who went from being told he would never walk again to walking now with one crutch and that one will be gone is wanting the process to move faster. And he's a freaking miracle.
Crazy.
And we're talking about losing 5 pounds, 10 pounds. It ain't
Right.
happening fast enough. Shut up, you weak whiny bitch.
Oh my God. Oh my God. So, Clark, why do you think men still do fitness wrong? Even
Because they're
today, with
just
all the resources out there, people are still they're chasing after the wrong things. They're trying all these crazy diets and not sticking to the basics.
because they don't want to stick to the basics. It goes back to what you said earlier about the
Yeah.
process and the progress and how it's strategic along the way. We live in a culture where we've been convinced, one, that we're falling apart, and two, that it should happen way faster than it is because there's a trick, there's a hack, there's a secret, there's a code that I'm the only person on the planet that's unlocked. Nobody knows this but me. I'm the guy, and unless you join my program, you're going to be that guy forever. You're never going to
Yeah.
get in shape because there's only one trick. I went to the top of the Himalayan mountains. I found this one plant that nobody else could find. I was doing acid when I found it. All of this
Oh,
crap, man. And it's like, that's bullshit. You said it yourself. It's the basics.
yes.
It's the basics. And that's why, again, not to keep coming back to what I'm doing with Russell,
Yeah.
but this is the most basic foundational element that you can get. You look at your blood, you determine where the issues are, you fill in those gaps, and you start building from there. What's next? What's the best meal plan for you?
Mhm.
What is the most sustainable course of action for you as an individual, not y'all, for you to be on this thing and stick with it. And here's the privilege that I have, and this is why I'm so passionate and I speak the way I speak.
Mhm.
I have the privilege of every single day of my life waking up to these messages
Yeah.
and physically watching these men change that stick with the program, that when they get off path, I am allowed, because they've invited me to speak to them like, you know what? Shut up. Get
Mm.
back on the plan. I don't care how many donuts were in the office. I don't care how much you're traveling. I've heard it all. There's nothing you can tell me that I don't have a rebuttal for because it's all bullshit. If you really
Right.
want to get the results that you say you want to get, listen to what I'm telling you. It works, and I see it every single day. That's why I'm so convinced that no matter who comes in front of me in my program and what I do, we can absolutely change the way they exist on this planet, no questions asked. No
I
one
love that,
convinced
though.
me otherwise.
Right.
Nobody.
Absolutely.
You could be a Harvard PhD with all the degrees in the world, and they come to me and say, Clark, no. Every man after the age of 30, shut up. I won't even let him finish his sentence. Shut up. Go
Oh,
back
man.
to the halls of Harvard and speak your stuff to a bunch of people who care. I don't.
Got it. You touched on a lot of things just in that one statement, and one of them is the way that you keep your guys accountable. I feel like it's a big part of what we really harp on in physical therapy, where it's like, listen, I get it. Like some of these things that we're asking you to do, you may not want to do them home, but you're not going to get the best results from our care because we take a whole person approach if you're not doing the one or two things we ask you to do along the way. And it sounds like for you, like you are keeping a very rigid accountability level with these guys so that they don't fall off the track very far. You can get them back on very quickly.
Yeah, and you have to be honest and you have to speak the truth. Have you ever seen the movie Brian's Song?
Oh my God, so many years ago. Yes.
Yeah, the original Brian
Yeah, the
song, not the
original Brian
remake.
song.
Okay.
That's
And
right.
this is certainly not politically correct, but Billy D said it, not me. or in the movie,
Yes,
there's a
right.
scene, and you'll appreciate this as a physical therapist.
Yeah,
After Gail Sayers busts up his knee, Piccolo and Sayers are down in the basement of Gail
yeah,
Sayers' house, and Gail Sayers is doing leg extensions on that old machine that I started working out on back in that YMCA at the
yeah,
age of 14. And then Brian Piccolo says something to Gail Sayers. You know, he said this. I can't even quote the line, right?
yeah.
He said this, and then all of a sudden there's this silence, and Gail Sayers just starts laughing, and they're busting up, and the wife is standing there like, you guys are crazy. See,
Mm,
people don't get that level of honesty and transparency and desire for somebody that they care about to stop making excuses and start doing the work that's necessary to get to where they know they want to go.
mm.
Gail Sayers wanted to be back on the field. Brian Piccolo knew Gail Sayers was better. Gail Sayers is out there. Brian Piccolo's playing. He's like, man, come on. I want your best. I want the best for every freaking man that sees this. And you might not have got me at the beginning, but hopefully you get me by now. You know what I mean? And it's like, it, and unless you talk to somebody that way and it's coming from the heart and they feel it's honest and real, you're not going to connect because there's
Yeah,
so much noise. You
a
got to
lot of
break through
noise.
the noise.
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like the for sure, and excuses galore, whether it's PT or whether it's fitness. It seems to be very consistent. Do you find that there are certain kind of guys that you can't take on as clients? I remember in one post you talked about how probably 90% of the guys out there who are looking for your coaching services are not going to be a good fit for your coaching services. What is that 10% like? What does it take to work with somebody like Clark Bartram?
A willingness to pay the price that it's going to pay to work with me, and a willingness to do the work once you paid the price, because there's this justification in people's minds that once they click the let me check this out button, like they've done something beneficial for themselves. And that's not
Yeah.
the case. I
Mhm.
don't want your money unless you're willing to do the work, because you know whose reputation's on the line?
Mhm.
Mine. Because you know what
Exactly.
that guy's going to do? I paid Clark X amount of dollars and I didn't get any results. And then they
Yep.
go to the next guy and they do the exact same thing.
Exact
And
same
what
thing.
happens? Life goes on. The weight keeps piling on. The confidence keeps going down. The energy keeps getting zapped. And they find themselves left wanting. They're
Yes.
sitting there like, man, what do I do now? If when they engaged with me, they would have showed up and they would have texted me every day with integrity. That's where that integrity piece comes in.
Mhm.
If you're lying to me and you're not being honest, if you're drinking alcohol and you're telling me you're not, if you're eating the pizza and you're telling me, oh, I only had a bite and you had the whole thing, I can't help you. So give me the
Yeah.
money, do the work, stick with it long enough. And back to your original point, what got you here? Be consistent. Be consistent, and there's no possible way, none, that you won't get the results. It's completely impossible just by nature of who we are as humans. You know this better than I do. We are the most adaptive organism on the known universe. We will only adapt to the demands that we place on our body. So if you tell your client, all I want you to do is stand up and sit down, stand up and sit down, and eventually your quadriceps are going to get stronger, and you will be able to do that without the same amount of effort that you're doing it now. If you do it consistently, your body's going to adapt to that. But if they say, nope, nope, I ain't doing it. I ain't doing it, coach. That muscle's going to atrophy more and more because what? It's adapting to the lack of demand that's being placed on it, saying, okay,
100%.
no problem, no
Yep.
problem. We'll die for you. We'll atrophy. We won't be strong. We won't be capable anymore. But the minute you stand up, the second you stand up, you got stronger. Period.
Absolutely. Yep. I love that. It's funny because what separates us from other PT clinics, Clark, is because we have this hybrid PT fitness model. We find that the traditional approach often leads to people staying in pain because they're not adapting. You can't adapt using the same pink weights and yellow TheraBand that your grandma's using. No offense to grandmas out there, but and that's what happens a lot of times. We get a lot of people come from places where like, hey, I went to XYZ PT and they gave me these bands and these really light weights, but I do CrossFit. I'm like, well, you're not going to get better and your knee's not going to get better for sure, or your back for that matter, if all you're doing is this lightweight stuff. You got to be really demanding. And that's where we try to fill the gap in, as you say, to make sure that they are on their way to the next level. Have you ever had experience yourself with physical therapy?
See, so I want to point something out that I want
Yeah.
people to see. See how Jerry just all of a sudden the passion started building up inside of him with his energy and the way he was speaking, because he deals with this every day and he
Yep.
knows what's possible, and he knows that what you're doing is not necessarily going to be the level that you need to work at. You're tired, you're sore, you don't want to do it anymore. Oh, but I don't want to go home and do the leg extensions. That's so basic. Can't you give me something more creative than that? No, just do this. So I love that. Like, that's what I saw.
Oh,
You're like,
thanks.
oh, now I'm tapping into
That's
Jerry's
right.
spots. He's going to start screaming and yelling like me right now.
Oh my God, it's crazy. Yeah. It's
What was your
awesome.
question?
Yeah. So, in your experience, have you ever had to go through physical therapy either yourself or had to recommend it? And what's that like for you to choose the right physical therapist for your clients?
Thank God I personally haven't myself, but I'm going to speak to this guy that Hadi, the guy that we're
Yeah.
talking about now. So what I did with him, thinking like a physical therapist, the other day when he walked in with one crutch, I said, "Hey, can you squat to the floor?" He said, "I don't know. I
Mm-hmm.
think so." And I just did this. And he knew exactly what to do.
Mm-hmm.
He grabbed my hands,
Yep.
my fingers, which I didn't want to help him up a lot. He just barely hooked around here. He went all the way down to the ground,
Love it.
which, as you know, most people in our Western culture cannot do that. They
Definitely not.
cannot pop down to a squat like this without
Absolutely.
falling forward or falling back. He
Right.
did it. I took my fingers out. He stood back up. I said, "Let's
Amazing.
go.
I
Let's go."
love that.
So he is the extreme example of what is possible as far as balance, retraining the nerves, retraining the neural
Brain.
pathways in the
Yeah,
brain, which
sure.
speak to every other part of your body up through the spinal cord and all that sort of stuff. So I'm guessing here that there are probably a big number of people that you could help even more if they believed that it was possible,
For sure. Definitely.
right? So this belief thing comes in. That's the mindset piece.
Yeah.
That's why I got that at the top of my principles.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I feel that because of the way that a lot of these we call the PT mills out there, they don't have the time, and it's not the PT's fault. It's often just a system it is where they're seeing 4 or 5 patients an hour, and so they're not able to dedicate time to work on the mindset to figure out what this person's really looking for and where this person really wants to go. It's more like, okay, so you came in with shoulder pain, great. I'm gonna get you range of motion better, whatever, but for us, it's more like, well, what do you want to get back to doing? What is it that you are dying to get back to where your life is that much more meaningful because you're doing those things? And because we specialize in the active population and athletes, I haven't been able to do this. I haven't been able to run, haven't been able to do CrossFit, haven't been able to do golf, whatever it is. It would mean the world to me to get back to those things. And that is what we love to try to incorporate into the program. Otherwise, why are they going to come to PT just because their shoulder hurts? It doesn't mean there's no meaning to that. You find the same thing in fitness as well?
Absolutely. I think with PT, based upon what I just heard you say, there should be, it's unfortunate because I had this conversation with a dermatologist the other day, a buddy of mine, he has to see X amount of patients in an hour and X amount of patients in a day based upon the quotas that this group has set for him. That only allows him 7 minutes
Hmm.
to greet, assess, diagnose, and prescribe whatever it is in 7 minutes.
Scary.
How is that even possible? So, with the mindset piece, I think part of the physical therapy process should be you're sitting in a class, you're not even doing any work. You're sitting with a specialist who deals with the mind and says, hey, listen, the process you're about to embark upon is only as good as your belief as to what is possible for your progress in whatever it is that you're here, whether it's legs, shoulders, elbow, all of that. Last night I had a discussion with my son. He plays football. He's a
Mhm.
quarterback. He got smashed a grade 5
Oh,
AC
oh
separation.
yeah, yeah. That's
So
pretty severe.
he it healed itself, but he needs to have the operation. He's a researcher. He cannot find a qualified ortho to do the thing that's going to last him or maybe
Yeah,
even allow him to play football again.
yeah,
So he's like, oh my God, dude, I'll never get fixed. This is never going to. And I'm like, stop, please. I don't want to hear it anymore. Because the way your conversation is going and you're now verbalizing what's going around in your head, you have one of two ways to think. It's it. Anything in between, you're headed in the negative. That's how simple fitness is. That's how simple physical therapy is, right?
yeah.
And
Right.
I'm respecting the
Of
level at
course,
which
of
people are
course.
coming in. But it's either this or this.
Mhm.
The in between is this, the negative part. If you're not accepting the fact that you're going to be doing some work and you're going to be doing it in a way that is going to help you get better, then all of what you're not believing, you have to be here. You have to. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that you need more than 14 minutes. You need, 30 minutes to just deal with someone's mind
Oh
to
yeah,
usher them into the work. Now they're doing the
definitely.
work with the belief that, yes, every single thing I'm doing got me stronger, got me more capable, got my balance back, got my coordination, whatever it is.
Yeah. So, Clark, it sounds like, and I've heard different podcasts with you on them, and I love how there's definitely this specialty towards 50 and over, which is awesome. What do you think you would tell the 30-year-olds and 40-year-old guys out there who are sort of like thinking about their future and maybe they don't live the lifestyle that you and I have right now? What are something, maybe two or three pieces of advice that you can give to them saying, hey, listen, guys, you may be here, but here's what this could look like in your 50s if you make these changes now?
So let me start with if you don't make these changes now, what will it look like? You will look like those statistics that we referred to earlier on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Every man after the age of 30, testosterone is slowly going to decline. And the reason it's declining, it's not age related, it's weight related. The number one reason that people's testosterone is dropping down is because people are gaining weight. They're heavier and heavier and heavier. So the positive side of it is when you intervene, when you start doing these things and believing that it's possible to change, your body will start changing instantly. Instantly. There's all of our testosterone right now has gone up during the course of this conversation.
Sure.
Guaranteed.
I
I
feel
know
it.
mine has. If yours hasn't, you freaking got some estrogen you need to deal with. We need them both. But
Yeah.
putting yourself in a situation that is going to help you go up. So, man, there was something I was going to say that was, oh, here it is.
Yeah.
Why is it? Think about this with me for a second. And this is answering your question. But why is it that in every single area of our life, from the day we graduate high school at 17 or 18, however old you are, so to age 30 now, using the reference that you gave us, why is it that we're supposed to get better in every single aspect of our
Mm.
lives? But if we're sitting there at 30 with money in the bank and a car and a house, we've accomplished all this stuff, but we're not in the exact same body we were in high school, why aren't people questioning that?
It's a great question,
You
actually.
should be in the same body that you were in high school.
Mm.
And the only reason you're not is because you made choices that got you where you're at today. It's not your genetics. Your genetics are 20% of who you are today. I always tell people there's a parallel universe Clark Bartram that is somewhere that went to work in the steel mill in Canton, Ohio, that never left, that didn't listen to that guy at the YMCA at age 14 and say, hey, this bicep you have is a gift and it's going to get you famous someday. That's basically what this guy was saying. He was right. I believed that. So what did I do? I joined the Marines instead of working at Timken Roller Bearing. Hats off to everybody at Timken Roller Bearing who went there for 30 years, but had the 14-year-old version of Clark Bartram believed my shop teacher that said, you're never going to be anything, Clark. You get D's in school. You might as well just go take a job at Timken Roller Bearing because you took sheet metal here. That's what you're trained to do. And I went and did that. There's a version of me in a parallel universe that's 50 pounds heavier or more, that's probably divorced, that's probably unhappy with who he is, lost all my hair because of the stress, skin's all wrinkled and old because I don't care. That person is out there. So that's the genetic piece being 20%. The other 80%, as you know, is what we refer to as the epigenetic or the lifestyle part of it. I joined the Marine Corps. I became that guy. From the Marine Corps, I got into the gym business and I was around that all the time. From the gym business, I became a bodybuilder. From a bodybuilder, I became a fitness model. From a fitness model, I became an action star in movies. From an action star in movies, I became a notable figure who became a voice for men over the age of 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and 80. Now I've got guys coming to me.
Love it.
Like that is choices. Did my genetics play into it? Absolutely. But I tapped into them and I maintained them because at high school age, 17, I never let it get away from me.
That's amazing.
And now I don't have to play reverse. But
Yes.
you can play back. I see it, like I said, every day. I could take Matt, I could take anyone right now today and change it today. Matt's already changed right now on this call. He's like, damn,
Absolutely.
I'm going to the gym after this. Damn, I'm going to go, I'm throwing away the food I brought today. I'm going to get me some cleaner
That's it.
food.
No food. We're intermittent fasting.
There you go.
Oh my God.
But I want to
Love
tap.
it.
I like what you said about the intensity and that 10% that responds to it and the 90% that doesn't. You went to the Marine Corps. I was a police officer for 10 years, so not quite the same. But went through the 6-month police academy, same thing, and it was exactly what you're talking about. That level of accountability and integrity was the difference. And then I ended up, long story short, did 10 years, destroyed my ankle, retired early. And then lost that group, lost that accountability, lost the people who held me accountable, and I started to get setbacks. And that is I just realized it now while talking to you, listening to you. I was like, what's the difference? Because I did it before. I went through the police academy. We even had a hybrid Ironman competition. I went from being not keeping up with the runs at all in the beginning, them calling me Slug Ches. My last name's Sanchez, so they would call me Slug Ches because I couldn't keep up, to calling me Iron Ches because I did the Ironman competition at the end of the academy. So like, what's the difference? I did it, and I was 300 pounds when I started the academy. I went in at 275. I dropped some weight. 300 pounds. It's crazy. But did it. And for nothing other than just accountability and integrity. They held me accountable. I'm like, all right, well, I got to do this. And then couldn't really, fell into the rut. And right now I realize, the difference is I didn't have those men around me to hold me accountable the way they did in the academy, the way they did afterwards in the police department. So now I got these guys now, next level. Everybody's freaking popping out of their little T-shirts. Everybody's got mediums. I can't... and holding me accountable to the point where I got out this morning with their tri-team and ran as much as I can before coming in today, and that is huge. That is invaluable. I cannot agree more or put more emphasis on that accountability, integrity, and that men's support.
Bro, that right there, we basically did a Zoom call that I do bringing guys on because that vulnerability and that honesty is the first step in moving in the direction you want to go. And I'm searching right now for my newest guy that just came in. So what you just said couldn't be closer to the actual truth of what it takes, right? You're spot on. So this guy right here, okay? A lot of these guys don't understand the community piece. They're like, I don't get the community. Why do I got to be in a group? Why do I got to do this?
Man, it's still key.
You're only committed to what you confess. One of my mentors years ago taught me that. So here's a new guy coming in. Hold on. Got this freaking new iPhone here that I don't like it. Okay, here we go. Okay, going well. Today, start for real. No more intake interviews and forms and downloads and apps and everything else that kind of overwhelms as you start up here on this journey. But today, it starts. I'm out here this morning with my coffee, with no cream, no sugar. We're gonna limit some carbohydrates for a while, and have a plan for today. The first day, and I'm excited about it. One of the things I'm going to do right away is start each day with a little bit of journaling and an encouraging podcast instead of what I normally do, which is negative news cycles and. So this was after our intake call. So here's how simple the process is. The only thing I asked him to do was stop listening to the news. Because I'm like, what are you going to do to change the world based upon all that crappy information that's being poured into you first thing in the morning? What have you done to this point to go change any of what you've heard? He said, nothing. I said, okay, what we're going to do is change what you're putting into you, because we're going to change who you are and how you show up every single day. So he cut the cream out of his coffee. He's cutting back on carbohydrates a little bit. We're doing something that might not be sustainable, but we have an immediate plan to do something. So it's very thoughtful in what we're doing. But actually, there's a video before that was really even more touching to the heart. He said, I have avoided catastrophe in my life because I got on blood pressure pills. I got sleep apnea mask. I did this hack and that thing instead of doing the one thing I knew I needed to do. And Matt, being at 300 pounds at one point in your life, you understand the importance of getting that extra body weight off, because there's no way. I used this analogy the other day on a podcast. If there was a zombie apocalypse right now out here in front of my house, none of these bitches would catch me. None of them. I could jump that fence, run that hill, cut off a head, punch one in the face, juke and jive, and talk trash the whole time. It's like, oh, you ugly, you ain't getting me. When
Oh my gosh.
75% of the population, based upon statistics, is obese, they're going to get caught before me. That's just the way it is.
That's great. This would be our alien abduction episode. We'll talk about what to do to make sure that you can stay ahead of the aliens if they ever do come down.
Well, I've seen you.
Zombie apocalypse. I'm telling
Exactly,
you that right now. I've seen The Walking Dead.
Yes. That's awesome. Real quick, Clark, as far as getting back on the topic of testosterone, there are obviously some things, very practical things that guys can do. You've talked about it in other episodes where we're talking about compound lifts and whatnot. Are there a couple key things that our audience can hear that might be helpful for them to get started on the right track with that? And as far as what they can do in their own diets, or maybe some basic supplements they can do right now that might help them to see that there is a light at the end of the tunnel?
Yeah. Well, I have to say the belief thing again, because if you're not starting from a foundation of belief that it is possible to boost your testosterone naturally, and you've been convinced by every strip mall testosterone clinic and every freaking guy on the internet that tells me there's no way, Clark, it's impossible for you to look the way you do without being on TRT. You are so stupid to think that, and you're limiting the human ability by telling me, are you kidding me? If you followed me around for the last 60 years, you would see why I'm not that regular guy and why it's possible. Me, not just me, but a whole bunch of other guys too. So then with respect to, we'll go in the order of them. So the mindset, you got to believe it. The meals, right? Stop eating plastic, right? Stop eating the McDonald's and the convenience foods and the prepackaged crap. Jack LaLanne, one of my mentors, taught me, Clark, if man made it, don't eat it. If man made it, don't eat it. We refer to those as class 2 foods, right? It's processed, it's packaged.
Like
no, I'm not perfect. I like chips. I like the salty, crunchy and all of that. I'm not a robot, but I limit the amount of that I put in my body. Last night I had some chips. They were the best version of chips that we could find, but I had a handful. I immediately said, I'm getting rid of this bag, because I'll eat the whole damn thing. I handed it to my son. I said, this is what I'm limiting myself to. I enjoyed those, and that was the end of it. So stop eating the plastic food. Start eating whole natural food. Look, you don't need to be organic. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to stop eating the stuff that you know. Innately, I think most of us know what's good and what isn't good. Is the donut good or bad? With respect to what I said earlier, it's either here or here. There's no in between. What you're going to think is either going to be good for you or bad for you. What you're going to eat is either going to be good for you or bad for you. Whether or not your move is either good for you or bad for you. There's no in between. So stop eating the crap and start eating better stuff. The movement, you mentioned it, the compound lifts, deadlifts, squats, bench press, all of the basic moves. Isolated moves like bicep curls, those are great, but they're not really doing anything to increase your metabolic function in your body and really create this thermogenic effect that's going to help get rid of the body fat, that is going to help increase the testosterone, because it's not one pathway, right? It's not the deadlift that does it. It's what the deadlift does that causes the hormonal in cascade in the body.
Right.
Like, we always think it's one thing that is doing it. It's not the deadlift. It's eating the right food and doing the deadlift that's causing the hormone and chemical response in your body. Food's the most powerful drug you'll ever put in your body.
For sure.
Pharmacy should be spelled Pharmacy. The food is the drug.
Absolutely.
Did you hear me, people? Pharmacy. Pharmacy, like what you are eating. You've heard the saying, you are what you eat. You are what your food eats. So if your food's coming from a package, it's not eating anything, right?
Right.
But if you eat this cow that is eating grass that is natural, that's not being pesticided to death and all of that, that's the process. We got to think deeper than the surface.
For sure.
So then Matt just tapped on it. So you got the mindset, the meals, the movement. The community is so huge.
Huge.
Matt said, when I lost it, what happened? Oh, I realized just now on this call, that's the missing element for me. I'm missing those dudes. I'm missing the towel snapping, the trash talking, the challenges, the competition, the energy, the bad names that didn't affect him in a bad way. They said, all right, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you. I'm not sloppy. I'm Iron Man. I'm sorry. I'm this guy, you know? And it shifted him. It didn't kill him. And then the integrity piece, right? There's all sorts of layers to that. And we don't need to get into that, man. But if guys could tap into this, which they do every day in my program, they would absolutely change.
It's awesome. You basically laid out the foundation for the Maximize Men program. Is there anything else you want to talk about that program that you can share with our audience, Clark?
Yeah, if you reach out to me, be ready to make a change. Don't reach out to me and waste my time. I don't need your money. I don't need another guy in my coaching program. Of course, I want to scale this, but I want to scale it to people who are ready to make a change, because if statistically what we're seeing is true, and it has to be. I got the census report shipped to me yesterday. I had to fill it out for my business. So we are taking data. This world runs on data. The data is proving to us that the majority of men listening to this right now are in a position where they could benefit from my program. You are doing yourself no good. You are doing your family no good if all you do is reach out to me and say, okay, let me kick a tire on Clark's program, see what it's all about. Be ready to take out your damn checkbook and write a check to invest into yourself. Here's the thing that pisses me off about guys, man. And you've probably heard me say this on a podcast before, they could come to me and say, yeah, Clark, I'm interested in your program, blah, 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 blah. It's time to really separate the men from the boys. It's X amount of dollars. Oh, I need to think about it. Oh, I didn't know. Oh, shut up, man. If a 1972 Olds Cutlass Supreme pulled up in your driveway, or Ferrari, or whatever your car is, and someone said, bro, I need to get rid of this, man, and it was the exact same amount of money that my program was, and you told me you didn't have the money, and you really didn't, let's say you weren't lying, if that car pulled up in your driveway, I can absolutely guarantee you that you would find the money to buy that car. Not a question in my mind. you would find it, and your justification would be, well, I can resell it and make money. For what? You ain't going to invest it into my program. I know that
Right.
because you're
Right.
already proven that you're not willing to invest into yourself. So don't waste my time. Don't waste yours. Come to me ready. I want to separate the wheat from the chaff. I want to get the guys who are really ready to make a change to reach out to me. This program works. There's more evidence than I even have time to put on social media. You know how many volumes of videos that I have that are waiting in queue that I want to put out today that my people are telling me, no, just we got to paste this stuff. We got to put it out. It's dude after dude after dude after dude after dude
Crazy.
that has
I love
gotten
it.
results.
I love it. As far as what you do in a given week, Clark, can you kind of talk about what your workout schedule's like and your regiment's like on a day-to-day basis?
So I'll do, depending on what I'm focused on, like I've been doing photo shoots lately. We resurrected the Evolution ad from EAS back in 1997. We just shot the 5th image in that series.
Wow.
26 years later. So I was
Amazing.
focused on getting ripped. So recently I've been doing a cardio session in the morning, 30 minutes on the Stairmaster, and a cardio session at night. I bookend my day with cardio sessions. My workouts are fun. They are that community. I have 3 other guys that I train with. So my workouts went from 20 minutes by myself to about an hour and a half now with my buddies because we're having a blast. We're being dudes. And I need this in my life right now because they're all younger than me.
Yeah.
They keep me younger. I'm the one that sets the bar for everybody. So I'm just like, that's that thing there. So we actually had this conversation yesterday and they love my response. They're like, hey, what do you want to train today? I'm like, I don't care. They're like, what do you mean? I don't care. Whatever you want to train. Well, let's do chest. Didn't you just do chest yesterday, Clark? Yeah, but it all comes out in the wash. It doesn't matter. I'm not systematic. I don't care. If I do back 5 days this week, it's all going to come out in the wash because I'm not doing it for 12 weeks only. I understand the bigger picture. I'm in this for life. And when I'm doing back, I can get my abs involved. I can get my triceps involved. I can get my biceps. I can get my shoulders. I can even get my legs involved if I wanted to in my back workouts.
Yeah.
I'm that intuitive. I'm that connected to my body that I am just so whatever. Let's do it. Let's just have fun. Let's just move. And my guys love it. They're like, Clark, that's what we love about you. You just show up and you do the work. And not every workout is at a 10. I want to let people know.
Yeah.
I'm not maxing out. I've never maxed out. I haven't maxed out in 100 years. I don't go to failure every set. I don't think that's a thing that you need to do. I'm not puking at the end of any workout. Rarely do I sweat. I get a pump. The number one goal that you should be going for when you're working out is getting blood to the muscle that you're working. Period. You know this from being a physical therapist.
Absolutely,
Bringing the oxygen. It's doing the healing. It's not, come on, bro, one more. Dude, I saw a guy snap his bicep on a preacher bench the other day. I'm like, that's exactly why I don't do that stuff, man.
Yeah. I hear you, man. That's great. Before I ask my last question, Matt, did you want to have some trivia for Clark that you want to ask?
Oh, yeah. So, talking to all these doctors, all these learned men, and these supermen like yourself, these superheroes. We always like to humanize them a little bit. So I have a couple questions that are completely out of the blue to kind of just see the human side of everybody. So the first one is, if you won the lottery, but in order to collect, you still had to work a full-time job, what job would it be? And it cannot be what you do now.
Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe I'd be a dentist. I wanted to be a dentist when I was a kid. That was my first. It was funny because today I thought of my dentist. I put on glasses this morning and I went like this. And the first guy I ever saw do this was Dr. Dietz, my dentist. I remember him looking at me like this, and then he would look up and he would go like this. Dr. Dietz, my dentist. So I would be a dentist.
Love that.
I love
quick.
teeth.
Okay. Another one. For the rest of your life, you have to pick one. You either be blind or have to live inside of an Olive Garden restaurant.
I'd live in an Olive Garden restaurant.
I said the same thing.
I agree.
I'm with you, Clark.
I agree. It's so wild. All right, last one.
So
would you rather fight Mike Tyson or sound like him for the rest of your life?
Oh my god.
I'd fight him.
Yeah, it's a tough one asking Batman because you fought the Predators, a couple Predators, and an alien already.
This guy.
So
That's right.
I should have changed that question.
I fight it, man, because my voice is what's really kind of made me who I
Yeah,
am.
Oh yeah, for
100%.
sure. Oh my gosh. I can't
Uh,
imagine sounding like Mike Tyson right now, Clark. So, you ready for conversation? Last question for you, Mike. I'm sorry, Clark. I saw this sort of sign behind you, One Life. Can you talk more about that? I love it.
Yeah, actually, I saw
Ticket.
Gary Vee had this a long time ago,
Oh.
and I wanted to level it up. So I have a good buddy of mine who's on this podcast episode right now, Sergio Gutierrez. He is a musician and artist. So I
Yeah.
took this and I put on it my birth date down the side as the ticket number.
Ah.
10/3/1963, One Life, and then limit one per person. And then the line there, get busy living, that I use all the time comes from one of my favorite movies, Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, I love a Shawshank.
And I look at this every day. It was meant to do exactly what it is. It's a reminder that every single day I have the opportunity to get busy living and live this day. How am I going to do it? And that goes back to my conversation with that branding expert. He said, you have to come up with a mission and a purpose statement, just like Ford or any other business would have. And my purpose statement is to positively and powerfully affect everyone I come into contact with. So this is a reminder that I have today and today only to do that. And if I didn't do that with you, then I'm not really fulfilling my calling and my purpose. And hopefully I have. So now from
sure.
here, I move on to the next person. This morning, I woke up and I saw something on TikTok, and they said one of the most special things you can do for someone is kiss them when they're asleep. And my wife was laying there sleeping, and I walked out of the room, and I thought, what a hypocrite I would be if I missed out on this opportunity. And I turned around, went back in there, and just gave her a little kiss on her head. And
I did that this morning
No.
too. Let's go.
there you go.
Let's go.
You're a good
I
man.
walked out of the room to go to the run. I walked out and she was sleeping, and I was like, 'cause I don't want to wake her up. And I was like, nah, you know what? And I went back and I did it.
Oh, I love that.
Good man, brother. Good man. So you understand that. So we go from movement and situation to situation and do our best to be that person. And we all have that ability and that privilege and that calling to do that. And you do it, Jerry, in your practice every day. I'm, imparting this wisdom that you took so many years. I watch physical therapists go through school, and it's like 6-8 years. And it's like, man, all of this studying and all of this to one day sit down with people who oftentimes let it go in one ear and out the other. And you just have to be consistent in your desire to reach that person. I think too often in life, we get familiar with what we're doing. Familiarity breeds contempt. We sit there and we can't let whoever it was that our information fell on their deaf ears to affect the next person that is in line with who we were meant to engage with on that day. So
Sure.
that's it.
Yeah, Clark, thank you so much for coming on our show today. I learned a lot from you, learned a lot more about you too. And anything I can do to help further your cause and journey, I'm happy to do that to our audience as well.
I appreciate it, guys. And I'm here if you need anything.
Thank you so much.
Matt,
Definitely.
let's go. Let's do it.
Definitely.
Go do your thing.
Thanks so much for tuning into today's episode. It really does mean a lot to us. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, or comment if you got at least one or two helpful insights or takeaways to help you get to your next level.